So Taylor, we talked in a previous video a bit about the practice papers and how to use them, but I really, with some of the feedback we've had, we need a bit more detail in some. We've had a few questions about that, so I thought it'd be really useful if you could just go through and give some real key points about how to get the best out of those practice papers.
Yes, you're right. I've been helping some children individually, and I've observed that some of them are not making the best use of them. So I've got 4 points which I want to make now to help with that. And the first is that children do need a good variety of papers. It's not enough to have 1 or 2 good sets. They need to have a good variety of papers, because then they'll get accustomed to different styles of question, different looks and different feels of the papers. And what they all have in common, of course, is the actual thinking that is required in order to answer them, and that's really what the children need to be trained in. It's the actual reasoning. So it's not good training for children if they get used to a particular set of papers, a particular brand, and that when they're faced then with a different brand, a different look, a slightly different layout, then they might be thrown, which 11 plus is a test of reasoning more than anything else. So it's the reasoning they need to practice. So a good variety of papers. The second thing is that these papers should all be multiple choice papers if the exam is going to be a multiple choice exam, which it is for the schools in and around Slough. And when the children do complete multiple choice papers, they should complete the multiple choice answer sheet that accompanies the paper. This is very important, because if children don't practice filling in that sheet, then there are many pitfalls that they won't practice avoiding. There are many things they can do wrong when filling in the multiple choice answer sheet, and if they don't practice filling it in correctly, they will potentially lose marks and potentially fail the exam as a result of it. Things such as making sure that they have put the answers for the practice questions in the space for the answers for the practice questions, such as they've put the answer for section 1 under section 1 and not under section 2 or 3, as can easily happen. And also they get used to looking at the number of the question that they're answering and make sure that they put the answer for that particular number on the answer sheet, because it's very easy to not think about it, especially if they haven't practiced it, and just put the answer in a different place, in the wrong place. So filling in the multiple choice answer sheet is part of the children's training, and if they're not practicing it, then they're missing an opportunity. So that's a second very important thing. Thirdly, when children are practicing a multiple choice practice paper, it's very good training in using their reasoning, good training in speed, good training in multiple choice techniques, and in filling in the answer sheet and so on. But the bulk of the learning happens after the paper is finished. When the paper has been completed, it should then be marked as soon as possible afterwards, and then the child should do the corrections to the paper as soon as possible afterwards. And when the child does their corrections, it's best not to show them the original wrong answers that they put, because that will help to eliminate and make it too easy for them to pick out the correct answer without necessarily going through the correct reasoning. So don't show them the original wrong answers when they do their corrections. And secondly, when they do their corrections, those should not be guesses. They should make perfect sense to the pupil, and they should look up everything that they need to look up from course notes, from the dictionary and so on. Or they can call me, and many parents have been contacting me by email, text or phone to help them with queries from the papers, which I welcome. So the bulk of the learning happens when children do their corrections. And I have noticed that some children are either not doing their corrections, or they're doing their corrections long after they've done the paper, when the greatest benefit is doing the corrections immediately. Or that when they do their corrections, they're doing them off the top of their heads and not delving back into their notes or using a dictionary, and that's a shame, because that is when the bulk of the learning happens, when they do their corrections. And finally, that when a pupil has completed a verbal reasoning practice paper, that is a most verbal reasoning practice papers are a rich source of vocabulary. Now, vocabulary is one of those things that you can never have too much of. So even if a pupil already has a good vocabulary, they will almost certainly find a good handful of words on a verbal reasoning paper that they can add to their vocabulary. So what they should do is trawl the paper for any words that they're unsure of and add them to their vocabulary books, and look up their meanings, etc., and complete their vocabulary books as normal with the word and its meaning or meanings. And that way they're using the practice papers not only for practice but for learning from.
I think that's very important. Very good advice there. Great. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
And if you'd like to find out more about the courses available, or just have some questions about the 11 Plus, then give Sir Tailor or one of his colleagues a call on the number provided through the Contact Us button.